In the village of Umueze, tucked between red earth paths and ancient iroko trees, love was not something people spoke about lightly. It was watched, measured, judged by elders and ancestors alike. Yet love found its way quietly, the way rain begins with a single drop. Chiamaka first noticed Obina on a dusty afternoon when the sun sat low and unforgiving. She had gone to the stream later than usual, annoyed at herself for delaying until the heat became cruel. Obina was there, washing soil from his feet after a long day on the farm. He looked up when he heard her voice scolding the goats nearby, and for a moment the world paused. There was nothing extraordinary about that moment, yet something unspoken passed between them. Recognition without memory, familiarity without reason. From then on, they began to notice each other everywhere. At the market, Obina would linger longer than necessary, pretending to inspect yams he had no intention of buying. Chiamaka would feel his eyes before she saw him, her heart responding faster than her thoughts. They spoke cautiously at first, exchanging greetings, sharing small laughter. Soon those greetings turned into walks home together, long conversations beneath the udala tree, and silences that felt safe rather than awkward. Obina was gentle in a way men in Umueze rarely were. He listened. He remembered things she said. He never raised his voice. Chiamaka, in turn, softened him. With her, the heaviness he carried from years of unanswered questions felt lighter. He had grown up with only his mother and Kiru, who spoke little of the past and never mentioned his father. Chiamaka, too, carried her own quiet ache. Her mother had died when she was young, and her father, Okafor, lived with grief folded deep inside him. Perhaps it was those shared absences that pulled them together. Love did not arrive suddenly. It grew slowly, patiently, like a tree whose roots sink deep before its leaves are noticed. When Obina finally spoke his feelings, his voice shook. Chiamaka cried, not from surprise but from relief. They had both known long before words were spoken. Their love was the kind that filled ordinary days with meaning. They planned a future in whispers, imagined children who would inherit Obina's calm strength and Chiamaka's laughter. When Obina told her he would marry her, there was no doubt in his voice, only certainty. Chiamaka said yes without hesitation, as though she had been waiting all her life for that question. The village rejoiced. Women teased Chiamaka endlessly. Obina was congratulated like a man who had won a prize. But beneath the celebration, tradition waited patiently. When the elders insisted on tracing lineage, neither Obina nor Chiamaka worried. They had nothing to hide. Names were names, families were families, or so they thought. The day the elders returned from Chiamaka's compound, their faces were tight, unreadable. Obina's mother, Nkiru, grew restless. When questioned, she wept. Words spilled out between sobs, truths she had buried for decades. A man she loved in her youth, a pregnancy hidden, a promise broken, a child raised in secrecy. That same man was Okafor. The realization struck like lightning. Obina refused to believe it. He stormed into Chiamaka's home demanding answers. Chiamaka watched as her father collapsed into tears, confirming what no one wanted to be true. The room spun, her ears rang. She fainted before the words finished leaving her father's mouth. When they finally faced each other again, there was no joy left, only devastation. They sat apart as though distance could undo blood. "We didn't know," Obina kept repeating, his voice hollow. "But now we do," Chiamaka replied, staring at the floor. afraid that one look at him would break her completely. The elders spoke of abomination, of curses, of laws older than love. The marriage was forbidden, contact was discouraged, prayer was advised. But love does not obey commands. They tried to stay apart, truly they did, yet every sound reminded them of each other. Every place they had shared became a wound. Nights were the worst. Obina barely slept. Chiamaka lost weight. People whispered. Pity followed them like shadows. One evening, unable to bear the silence any longer, Obina found Chiamaka by the river where they once laughed and dreamed. The moon hung low, pale and uncertain. "In another life," he said, barely breathing, "we would have been happy." Chiamaka's tears fell into the water. "In this life," she whispered, "we must be strong." But strength failed them. Days later, Chiamaka walked alone to the river before dawn. She carried no note. She left no words behind. When the village found her, the moon had already hidden its face. Obina screamed when he heard. Something inside him shattered beyond repair. He sat by her grave for hours, unmoving, until night swallowed the land. Weeks later, he left Umueze without a word. No one knows where he went. Some say he joined the spirits. Others say he wanders still, carrying a love that had no place in this world. And so, when elders tell this story, they end it softly. Some loves are pure, some loves are forbidden, and some hearts are broken not by betrayal, but by truth. And when the moon hides her face, it is said she is mourning two lovers who loved deeply, but were never meant to be.